So as some of you might already know, I've recently stopped bulking and started cutting in preparation for the summer, in preparation for getting on the beach. And I'm sure some of you are at that stage now in your diet, in your workouts. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity to make a video kind of highlighting the basics of cutting or losing fat, what I do personally, and throw in a few tips and tricks along the way to make the process a bit easier. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I don't want to bore you all by going over the same facts that you've heard in a million other YouTube videos, but I'll skim over the basics fairly quickly so you can get a base level of understanding. But essentially, we lose weight by consuming less calories than we use up in a day. And the amount of calories that you use up in a day is called your total daily expenditure. And you can work out this number using calculators online or just by monitoring yourself by understanding what you have to eat in a day in order to not lose any weight. Now, we can lose weight in two ways essentially, either through muscle or through fat. And obviously our goal is to lose fat rather than muscle. And the way that we make sure that our body chooses to lose fat rather than muscle is by stimulating our muscles in the gym and ensuring that we've got enough protein in our diet so that the muscle doesn't break down and we can keep the gains that we've been working on during our bulking phase. Now, we can put ourselves into a calorie deficit, which is when you eat less than you consume, in two kind of main ways. You can either reduce the amount of food you eat or increase your total daily expenditure, mainly by doing cardio. Now, at the beginning of a cut, I wouldn't recommend that you introduce a disproportionate amount of cardio or do anything crazy at the beginning, because it's about being consistent and it's better to lose a little bit of weight over a long time than a lot of weight in a short time. And that's essentially because the more weight you lose quickly, the more likely you're going to lose some muscle along with it, which is not what we want. We just want to burn fat. To start the cut off, you start with a small calorie deficit and see how that goes. See what the scales say, see how you look, see how your body reacts, and then you go from there accordingly. So I like to start at around a 500 calorie deficit from what I believe my maintenance is. And again, the calculators aren't always accurate. You're not always going to be able to find this out exactly. So it's a case of trying out this 500 deficit, seeing how it goes. If you're losing weight too quickly, you need to have more calories. And if you're not losing weight fast enough, or maybe even putting on weight, then your numbers are probably out. But we're going to aim to start at 500 calories below the maintenance and do that for about a week, I'd say. Now, if at the end of this first week, you're losing weight at a steady rate, which would be about 0.5 kilos per week, then you know that you're on the right track, and that's all you need to do really. Until that stops working, just eat in a 500 calorie deficit. Make sure that you're going to the gym, because again, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. If you don't work out your muscles, your body isn't going to keep them on because it needs energy. So it will start getting that energy from the muscles if it deems the muscles to be useless, i.e. you're not going to the gym. So nothing's going to change in terms of what you do in the gym. And lots of people say that strength decreases when you're on a cut, but that can be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So yeah, the initial stage is to try and find yourself at a point where you're about 500 calories under your maintenance and you're losing about half a kilo a week. Now, you're going to just stay here for as long as you can, because if that's working and you're not that hungry, then that's ideal. And if you're still losing weight, then it's that simple. But eventually that is probably going to stop working, mainly because as you get lighter, your total daily expenditure is going to decrease because there's less of you to look after, essentially. So at some point, that amount of calories that you're on is going to be too much, and you're going to have to be faced with a decision. You could either do more cardio and eat the same amount of food, or eat less food. Now, for me, eating less food is not an option, because I like my food and it's just not good being hungry. No one likes being hungry. So the ideal option for me is to just up the cardio, and that way I can just stay eating the same amount of food. Now, when it comes to cardio, a lot of people don't like the idea and envision it as just sitting on a treadmill for the rest of your life and being bored senseless. And whilst that is definitely what some people do, it's not what you have to do. For a lot of us, there's cardio that we can do that doesn't feel like cardio. So for me, I enjoy playing football, so that's something that I'll kind of start to integrate once I get to that point where I'm not losing weight anymore. I'll start playing a bit more football because I can do that and it doesn't really feel like exercise. I enjoy it, and that's always going to be preferable to just sitting on a treadmill and doing something you don't enjoy, because as with anything in the gym, the reality is if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to stick to it. So as a preference, try and find a sport that you enjoy doing. And if you've really racked your brains and you can't find any kind of cardio that you're going to be able to do that's enjoyable, any kind of sport, then the other alternative is just walking. I think walking has its own list of benefits that I can make a whole other video about, but going for a half an hour walk is going to do some amount to reduce the amount of calories that your body needs. Going on a walk is only going to do you good in terms of calorie requirements. So even if it's a half hour walk at the end of the day, in this weather, we can't complain. I mean, I'll show you some of aforementioned weather, mind the rice. But yeah, the weather's good enough that no excuses to not be going out for a walk at the end of the day. I'm sure you could fit it in. I mean, hell, even walk to the gym if that works. So yeah, if you're not like me, you might just dread the idea of cardio. You don't want to go on a walk, and that's fine. I mean, I advise you do, but if that's not what you want to do, and you're more comfortable losing the weight by dropping the calories even more, then that should be your course of action. But again, this whole process is about monitoring. It's about, not relying fully on scales or fully on pictures, but using both. Take a daily photo in the morning, weigh yourself in the morning after going to the toilet so you've got your true weight, not after you've had any water or food, because obviously that's going to offset your numbers. So no matter which approach you take, you're probably going to be consuming less food than would be ideal, and definitely less food than you was on a bulk. So there's certain tactics that you can use to get the most out of your food and get the most out of your calories. And these are kind of the little tricks that I use to make sure that I manage to hit the right amount of calories every day, get my protein in, and stay consistent. So firstly, this is a bit of a debated topic, a bit controversial, but I think that diet, soda drinks, or anything that's kind of a 0-calorie version of its counterpart is a must-have. I mean, Diet Cokes for me just satisfy that sweet tooth, because I think I've got a bit of a sweet tooth anyway, and I could eat endless amounts of Jamaican ginger cakes from Tesco's, especially when they're on discount. If you know about that, you know. But yeah, I've got a sweet tooth, and when it gets hard, knowing that you've just got a Diet Coke in the fridge that you can have, and it's going to be 0 calories, it costs you nothing, that for me is a must-have, and I definitely advise that you get some kind of diet soda or some kind of drink that you can enjoy when you're feeling a bit hungry. Another little trick that I use is that in the morning, I find that I'm just less hungry in general, so I prefer to wake up and kind of prolong the amount of time before I eat. If I wake up, I like to have a coffee, maybe a couple of coffees in the morning before I get anything down. And say I wake up at 7 o'clock, I could probably go a good couple of hours, maybe even until lunchtime, 12, 1 o'clock, until I get my first meal of the day. And I think that way it kind of allows me to stay productive in the morning, because I feel like when you're hungry, you've got a little bit more, I don't know, mental activity going on, which is ideal. So that works well for me, is not eating in the morning and waiting until I'm really hungry to have that first meal, because then that will probably fill me up until dinner, and then before you know it, it's time to go to sleep, and it leaves no room to cheat on your diet. So yeah, I think fasting in the morning for me is definitely another must-have. On the topic of hot drinks, when it does come to the evening, sometimes I still will feel hungry even though I've had all my calories, and that's when being British comes into play, and I just have a cup of tea, because again, it's just not really many calories at all. If you have 1, 2 sugars, it's like 50 calories maybe, bit of milk. It's no cost really. You can have a cup of tea, and for me, I like to do that every evening. Just have a cup of tea, go to bed, and that's when my body kind of knows no more food. I'm getting into bed, and just that ritual and integrating that for me just makes it easier. I know when it's time to not have any more food, and it keeps it simple for me. Another one is bulking any meal that you do have out with lots of fruit and veg, because again, fruit and veg mostly not a lot of calories. So if I'm making let's say steak and chips, I might choose not to have many chips and just to have lots of broccoli. You can go to Tesco's and get a frozen bag of veg that will just boil in minutes, and it's satiating, it makes you feel good, you get your micronutrients in, and yeah, that's the main benefit though, it's the satiation. You're going to fill yourself up with low calorie foods. It's going to make you less likely to snack on higher calorie foods. The amount of vegetables you could have compared to the amount of bourbons you can have, it's a no-brainer really. Now, the elephant in the room when it comes to losing fat is tracking calories, and I know lots of people don't really like to track calories. It kind of takes the enjoyment out of food, but I think you just have to do it, because you think that your guessing is good, and if it's your first time going on a cut, I know that I definitely underestimated the amount of calories in certain foods, such as olive oil and butter and sauces. They will really up your count for really little in return. So you can get substitutes for these sauces. Use low calorie oil, or sunflower oil, I think has less calories in it. But yeah, you have to be aware of what you're putting in. I don't think you're going to be able to just eyeball the amount of calories you have. So use MyFitnessPal, use Excel if you like, whatever you have to do. But I think tracking your calories, especially on a cut, is unavoidable. I think on a bulk you can get away with it sometimes, because you can just eat lots of food, more is better. But on a cut, you need to know precisely how much you're having, so I think that's undeniable. Preparation is another one that's crucial for me. I have to go into the office a lot, and I never really know what I'm going to be doing, so to be able to just have lunches on standby, ready to take in and eat wherever I am, knowing the macros on them, that's just another one that just makes everything so much easier, because I can just know that I can base my day around my lunch, knowing that I'm going to get a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of calories, and I can adjust accordingly. You might be in a different situation. You might always be able to just cook fresh food, but I think doing a shop on a Sunday and prepping food for me makes me much more comfortable in hitting my calories and my goals, because I know, like I said, I can base my day around my lunch or my dinner or whatever it might be. And yeah, preparation is key. So the final point I'll make is around hydration. I think a lot of the time when you think you're hungry, you can just drink a lot of water and it will fill you up. Again, this is just sacrifices, this is substitutions. The brutal reality is you're probably going to have some nights where you go to sleep and you're a bit hungry, but these little things can kind of make it a bit easier. But yeah, drinking lots of water, it's getting a bit hotter. I like to have ice, bit of lemon, and I can just drink unlimited amounts of water. And yeah, combined with all of the other tips, I can keep myself relatively not hungry, relatively full until I go to sleep. And that's another one that I almost didn't put in, is just having a good sleep schedule. Obviously, sleep is important at the best of times when it comes to muscle building and going to the gym, but especially when you're cutting, if you've got fixed waking up and going to sleep times, you can kind of sleep away most of your hunger. Get your 8 hours in, make sure you set dedicated times so that you're not going to be staying up and overeating or binging or whatever. Okay, so that's about all from me. Let me know if you've got any more tips for anyone in the comments on how to stay consistent in the cut and how to lose fat. And yeah, I'll keep you updated on the progress. I'm about a month in now and I've lost about 4 kilos, which is probably a bit too much considering the half a kilo a week, like I said. So maybe I'll end up losing a lot of muscle. I don't know. I've not been, like I said, it's about adaptation. So I've not been 100% as good as I'd like. I've not done many cuts. I've been on quite a long bulk. So I'm still learning, but these are the kind of key fundamentals that I try to take in. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.